Okay, I'm here with Tom Swann in front of the Palm Springs City Council where they're having a meeting tonight and they're planning to vote on a resolution on the Iraqi war. And with me was Tom Swann, the Veterans for Peace local chapter here in Palm Springs. Tom, what's your involvement here tonight?
Well, we asked 2 weeks ago, we asked that this be on the agenda because the Minneapolis City Council had voted to oppose the escalation of troops in Iraq. And about a dozen cities in California have done it, and we decided we should bring it to Palm Springs because that's where we live, and we think we have an open-minded council and that they would at least consider it. So 2 weeks ago they decided to put it on the agenda. We're here tonight to get it approved.
Now, you made some comments to the City Council. Could you kind of encapsulate what you told the council?
Well, I told them that they should don't be afraid to be a hero tonight. Almost 300 cities across the country have taken the heroic stand to say no to the war in Iraq. And so they should not be afraid of their vote tonight. Their vote tonight will be probably the most important of their lifetime. So I told them, don't be afraid to be a hero. Don't be afraid to cast this vote. Be bold. That's what we elect you to do. This is about war and peace. You know, Dante said that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those in a time of moral crisis choose to be neutral. You have to take a position on war and peace. Nothing's more important, and they're going to vote tonight. And I'm very grateful they're going to vote. They could have skipped over this. They could have said, we don't want this on the agenda, but they embraced it. They put it on the agenda. They're giving us a chance to speak, and I think that I'm kind of optimistic. I think it's going to pass tonight. I'll go out on a limb. I think it's going to pass.
Well, let's hope so, Tom, and your efforts have been greatly appreciated.
Well, we call our group Veterans for Peace, and people ask us, what does that mean? There's a lot of veteran groups. We believe we're the truth tellers of war. A lot of the veteran groups, I'm active in the American Legion, I'm active in AMVETS. They display their medals, they talk about how glorious war is. We're the truth tellers. We tell people how terrible the war is. War is hell. War should be a last resort. People die in war. People get injured. People their lives are shattered. You're never the same after you've been in combat.
Right.
So we are the truth tellers of war. So that war should be a last resort, and that's why veterans should be for peace first and war last. That's why we call ourselves Veterans for Peace.
Veterans for Peace. Thank you very much, Tom.
Okay.
And we'll report on how the vote turns out after they actually cast their votes, and we'll put that on so everybody will know what your city council is doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Resolution number 1, SJR1, Migden, relative to the war in Iraq. Councilmember Folk.
And it kind of saddened me tonight to hear people say that this was not the business of the Palm Springs City Council. And it would take me probably back to thinking about maybe the little towns in Germany thought that people disappearing from their city were not part of the problem of that city. And I believe that the last time I checked that Palm Springs was part of the United States. Yes. And as being part of the United States, everything that happens to our federal government affects us. And it affects us morally, it affects us emotionally, and real important, it affects us in our pocketbook. So Palm Springs citizens pay taxes. And so I think it's very appropriate, and for the gentleman who wanted to know what was taken off the agenda tonight to deal with this, there was nothing taken off the agenda. And I feel very proud that no matter how my council votes, that they have taken the time to discuss this issue. So I think that's important. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that this resolution is not about condemning George Bush. It's not about condemning the Democrats and the Republicans who voted for the war. This resolution is about it being 4 years since the start of the war, and we have achieved our objective. We have gotten rid of Saddam. His henchmen are dead and buried. Iraq has a new democratic constitution, a constitution that we helped write, which calls for democratic elections, which have happened already. Iraq is now involved in a civil war between the Sunnis and the Shiites and the Kurds. This is not our war. We achieved our objective, and I saw a bumper sticker the other day which sums it up for me, which says, "War isn't working." And I think it's time that we looked at the fact that it isn't working. More Iraqis have been killed and maimed in this war than under Saddam, and I think that that's a very sad figure. Staggeringly, it's costing this country approximately $96 billion per year. We don't provide the services to our homeless, to our underprivileged, to our people who need affordable housing, but we spend that every 4.5 hours in Iraq. So yeah, it is our problem because we don't have that money here. And then when you think about who is financing this huge debt, this is a debt that is now being held. We are selling our country to foreign countries. China is financing most of this debt. They are buying the bonds and financing the debt on the war. So pretty soon, everything that we do in this country is going to be owned, everything we have in this country is going to be owned by the Chinese or by other foreign powers that are now financing this astronomical debt. So yes, that is an important issue for the citizens of Palm Springs. It doesn't make me feel secure to know that, and these economic stability of our country also affects the economic stability of the city of Palm Springs. And we saw that right after 9/11, what happened to our tourists. We have citizens in our city currently in the military. We have citizens of our city in the National Guard that are currently serving or will be called up if this new surge happens. People say that we must support our troops, and I am in full agreement with that. I want to support our National Guard that are coming home to complete personal financial disaster. That is not what is before us tonight. We have on the agenda a resolution in support of SJR1, which simply states enough. And I just want to read you two parts of that for the sake of the people at home. And one of the whereases is, the proposed escalation will further extend National Guard tours in Iraq, for which the cost to the states of the call-up of National Guard members for deployment in Iraq have already been significant, as reckoned in lost lives, combat injuries, psychic trauma, disruption of family life, financial hardship for individual families and businesses. That is what Palm Springs people care about. It is part of Palm Springs. We don't have a wall around us that everything that happens outside, it just happens outside of Palm Springs. So it is important. And whereas more than $357 billion has been appropriated by Congress to fund the military operations. Those are some of the whereases in here. There is nothing in this whereas or nothing in this resolution that talks about condemning the president or talks about condemning those who voted to allow him to go to war. And it's not about that anymore. This is 4 years later, and it's time to bring our troops home. Cities all over the state are joining in support of this resolution. Our state assembly is now debating this resolution. The state senate passed the resolution, and I call upon my fellow council members to support our troops by supporting our state legislature as they call upon the president and Congress to think in terms of diplomatic solutions and not escalation.
Thank you, Ms. Fong, for your comments. Councilmember Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's actually unfortunate that this is on the agenda. I just don't see it as a local issue for the city council.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Mills. Councilmember McCullough.
First of all, with regard to Mr. Tom Swann, who spoke earlier, I have a good relationship with Mr. Swann. We We speak often. We send a lot of emails back and forth. In fact, I have this book available on Amazon.com, signed by Tom Swann here. I've read his book. It's a good book, and he does wonderful things, and he has a lot of energy. And I commend you for your service to our country, and also for your energy and for doing what you really think is right. And I want you to keep doing it. And we have to recognize, I think, that we're a tourist town. And as a tourist town, we have to be very careful about our image as a town. And even if and polling numbers may indicate that maybe 80% of the people in the United States may be against the war, the escalation of the war, but there's still 20% out there who are not. And if we as a city say that we're against you, then they may not come here. But we cannot take a position. I cannot sit up here in good faith as a representative in a representative democracy, which we're seeing representative democracy in action here tonight. I cannot in good faith stand up here and say, yes, the city of Palm Springs is against the escalation of the war in Iraq, because the entire city is not united in this effort. And it's just wrong for the city of Palm Springs as a tourist town to make that distinction and make that statement.
Mayor Pro Tem Cloutier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have thought long and hard about this topic in the last 2 weeks. And there are components of all three of my colleagues that I agree with. I'm not one to sidestep an issue that is before me, so I will make my opinion clear for the record. The reason I will not be supporting this resolution today is because that I believe the inherent weakness of this request is not that it seeks to end the loss, expense, and tragedy at all levels of this misguided engagement. Rather, I cannot support it because it does not provide the brave men and women of our military the lifeline of support that they so desperately need. Now, for those who would suggest this resolution will hasten the end of the war by assuring us that we leave Iraq, I do not believe that to be true.
So thank you for your comments. I agree with Mr. Cloutier that we have to make some decisions. You see, the country of France, after the oil crisis in '74, decided that they were not going to be held hostage by the oil crisis. And today, 92% of all of their energy comes from non-fossil fuel sources. That's tremendous. They made a decision to do something as a nation. We have not come to that. We are still the consumers of the world. I do not believe our troops should be there. And I did not believe that they should be there from the very beginning. But that's my right as a citizen. We don't make decisions about the school district, even though we know that there are problems in the educational system. We don't make decisions about the healthcare district, even though we know that there are problems with healthcare. Now, of course, we can sit down at any time and have a discussion with them about our concerns. But we know what our limitations are, and we act within the given responsibilities and duties that we have been given. But what are our duties? Do they include addressing federal issues? I don't think that they do. It's because people know that virtually our doing a resolution is really meaningless, because we aren't the people to make that decision. So what is the purpose in coming here? There are better ways to make a difference than coming before us, because I believe that we should do whatever we can to stop the war. But I thank you for using this venue to at least make your voices heard.
I can't let this go without saying it. I feel that no one in this room came here tonight expecting that the city of Palm Springs would end the war. And I think it's demeaning to the people in this audience who work tirelessly, standing on street corners, writing letters, telegraphs, and are out every day working on this. This was just another venue for them. This was not the venue to end the war. And this resolution was a resolution of support, not a resolution saying that Palm Springs is ending the war. I just want to make sure. And I would move this motion this resolution that we have.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Foat. Is there a second?
I would point out that's the motion on the
5A.
resolution.
Yes. And it dies, doesn't have a second.
All right, we're back out here after the vote. Well, non-vote as it turns out. For lack of a second on the motion, there was no vote for the city council. Tom, how do you react to that?
Well, I told you 30 minutes ago I thought it was going to pass. I thought it would pass. I'm surprised. I was very hurt by Mayor Oden's comments about our group. We've invited him to many of our meetings, and he's attended one of them, I believe, but basically he's basically ignored our group.
But spend some time being more strategic in your plan about making sure that we can stop it. This isn't the way.
This is an interesting situation tonight because the city council has in fact taken positions on federal issues, like the amendment to the Constitution outlawing gay marriage. So they have in fact voted on these federal issues.
Strategically, it doesn't make sense. Strategically, if you're going to act, you want to act in the way that's going to be most beneficial to your cause. To your cause. So you want to take that action or that concern to people who make the decision. We don't. We don't. However, because of you coming here, we can still say to our elected officials, we can say, no, this is a concern that some people brought to us. But strategically, then I just hate to see people spinning their wheels.
So for Mayor Oden to say that our strategy was wrong is bizarre because he has brought federal issues to the council and asked for an aye vote. And I was hurt by his comments. I think he's wrong. I think Mr. Pune he's got some courage. I think he's trying to offer an alternative. I still wish you'd have voted for us tonight, but he didn't. But he's at least moving in the right direction. He thinks we need to change this country. I noticed Mr. McCulloch voted against the Pune motion. So apparently he doesn't want any criticism of the federal government.
Right.
And Jenny Foat is a shining star.
Yes.
The woman is an absolute hero. And
she's the only one in the group that had the balls to stand up and say and actually make a resolution and for what she believed in.
So what Mr. Oden says our strategy was wrong, and I think he missed the whole boat. The state assembly this week is going to vote on this issue in Sacramento, and this council has a duty to inform our state assembly member, Bonnie Garcia, how they feel. And they do it all the time, and they should have done it tonight. It's a cop-out.
One of the other things that I believe they ought to do is let us know how they feel, and this is how they let how our representatives let the people know, what they're going to vote for, how they're going to vote, and how we should vote for them or not vote for them.
That's right. This is people of Palm Springs. We're winners tonight because we forced the Palm Springs City Council to talk about war and peace.
Right.
And we're winners tonight. They've talked about gay marriage. Well, now we've forced them to talk about war and peace. There is an election for mayor. In fact, 3 positions on the council are up in November. And now we have a track record, a vote, that we can use to know who to vote for in November.
That's right. Well, Tom, I'm really sorry that the city council decided not to vote on this issue tonight. But, hey, it's just one battle. We'll be back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll be back. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you.